We're just going to start Geek Week News. First off, everyone heard of Max Steel? Anyone?
Crickets?
Anyone?
Crickets?
Okay. So let me just fill you in. It's a failed toy line twice now.
Yay!
And they're making a big budget live action movie about it.
They made a big budget live action movie about Battleship, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but Battleship was fun. Battleship is a classic, okay?
Oh, and that movie, I'm sure, is destined for all time.
It was just fun. But let's make a movie about a failed toy line that's failed twice now.
I don't know.
And nobody
I'm
cares.
We don't have a Rainbow Bright live action movie. The gritty reboot of
Give
Rainbow
it time,
Bright.
because we are getting Jim the movie. Rainbow Bright will probably be next.
The movie's going to be awesome. It will be truly outrageous.
Truly, truly outrageous. Unlike this movie, which I don't quite get. The whole idea is this teenager gets like cyborg powers. It's like $6 million man for teens.
Who owns it?
Hasbro.
Oh, okay.
So they're thinking, hey, Transformers worked well. G.I. Joe worked well.
I suspect that they're also thinking, hey, Disney owns all the good toys. We're just desperate. Please, we want a movie too.
I really, really do think that's what it comes down to, is they're just literally insane.
So what else have we got?
Next up, Sci-Fi is getting back into the sci-fi game. They're adapting Frank Miller's Ronin. You see all the ones on the bottom of the screen. What's going on in Sci-Fi?
Okay, here's what's going on at Sci-Fi. I am so excited. I know, based on my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed and people emailing me, that there's an awful lot of hate out there, specifically for my love of sci-fi. But Sci-Fi has had a bunch of different management changes. For a while, they were owned by some French people that just hated science fiction and were very condescending. Then they were owned by some people who are like, well, reality shows are cheap and we have no budget, so we'll do that. Now that geek culture is in ascendancy because we are living in a geek golden age, someone over there has been hired that likes science fiction. And they have actually come out and said specifically that they're going to be dropping most of the programming that all of us are like, that is lame, and instead adding on actual scripted science fiction dramas. Yay!
That aren't going to suck, hopefully.
They're trying a whole lot. They are throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall to see what's going to stick. They said they want to go back to being the channel of Battlestar Galactica, which I want them to as well, and so do you. So, not Dominion. Dominion's the other one coming up. Defiance was their first try at that. I actually quite liked Defiance. Dominion's coming up with, War of Heaven and Angels and whatnot. They've got Killjoy that they've just greenlit, which
does sound really good.
Wait, Killjoy, by the way, creators of Orphan Black and Lost Girl, and we all know I love me some Canadian TV.
She might as well be Canadian, eh?
I'm never going to become an ice pack. It won't happen. There's not enough maple out there for me. But seriously, it's really good science fiction coming up. And I believe they have 8 different scripted dramas that are supposed to be coming out in the next 2 years as part of their transition back to becoming an actual science fiction network.
And now you
I'm
add
so excited.
comic books to the mix.
Oh, yeah.
So, you could take wrestling back to Spike TV where no one will ever watch it because that's where it belongs. Horrible, horrible station that is.
I would love to see them get back to doing the whole Sci-Fi Fridays, the way that they did way back
I
in the day.
remember Sci-Fi Fridays.
I know!
I also remember Farscape days. That's all I really cared about in Sci-Fi back in the day. It was Farscape.
And the great thing about it is, now that everybody's got a DVR, if you're a geek that has a life, you don't have to worry about missing it. I mean, they kind of put it on Fridays because they're like, well...
Although, it would be nice if they did their on-demand service justice because you can't find anything on Hulu. You can't find anything. They're really weird the way they do their on-demand. So hopefully this whole flush of things will be like, well, you know what? People watch things on Hulu and other devices. Maybe we should open up the on-demand market to there.
You would think that the Sci-Fi Network of all people would realize, by the way, guess who your core audience is? The biggest pirates in the world. If you don't want them stealing
digital
your
piracy.
stuff, make it possible for them to get it in a way that you can deliver your advertising or otherwise get some money back for it because, like Continuum, I'm not going to say that I don't watch the U.S. broadcast of Continuum, but I might borrow the Sunday Canadian broadcast from the internet and occasionally even give them back.
Which, we'll talk about that later. Up next is some more TV news. The Muppet Show is returning to television. That's right. They've had their run in the movies, and now they're saying, okay, well, let's take them back to TV.
I could not be happier about this. I mean, I've been watching Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which has made me nostalgic for both the Muppets and for Farscape.
But
and what?
It didn't work for Muppets Tonight. There's something missing in the Muppets on TV that they don't have from the 70s. We're not in an age today where I think it's going to be a big success.
You think so?
I honestly think so. They work well as movies because there's a nostalgia factor to it, and they actually had good writers. But if you want to try to redo the Muppet Show, you really have to have a good creative team. And let's face it, they just kind of,
I disagree.
I hope they decide to do something serious.
I think that for a while what happened was they wanted to do a darker, grittier sort of thing, so they got to go off and do Farscape and do a bunch of other projects, and they realized, now that the Muppet movies are making some money, what it is that people are watching it for. The hard part, you're right, that getting a whole family show together, like we don't make the sort of family shows they made in the 70s that had a little bit of humor that went over the kids' heads and a lot of other stuff for the kids. If they can find a way to balance that line, it would be a beautiful thing. I actually liked the new Muppet Show.
See, I love anything with the Muppets. I'm just worried that it's going to end up being on like Disney XD for a season, and no one's going to watch it like they did with Tron Uprising,
Well, do
which
you know
was
what channel it's
fantastic.
going to be on?
No idea.
Okay.
But probably ABC would be my guess.
I'm rooting for it then. If ABC would put, come on, it'll be better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got really good. Don't trash it.
All right, and they've got another season to go all dark, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, next up, movie news. They're bringing the Flintstones back to the big screen. Now, I happen to enjoy the first one. I didn't really like the second one as much.
Yes.
But here's where I'm concerned at. Do we need
Yes.
it, first of all? Second of all, it's being done by Will Ferrell and the whole team that did Land of the Lost. Which,
Can I just walk off again now?
Yeah, you can just
'Cause
walk off
I'm
now.
done. I'm done.
Land of the Lost had its moments, but it was the stupidest movie ever, most biggest waste of time. And hopefully, Will Ferrell's not going to try to fill in for Fred Flintstone,
Oh, you
because
know he will.
John Goodman's the only one who can do that role. Seriously.
Actually, I think he's going to do Barney because of the curly hair.
I could totally see him, but why do they want to do this? Are they just sitting around going, hey, you know what, let's make a
I wonder
Flintstones
if
movie?
Warner Brothers is running out of time on copyright or something. I mean, you'd think that Disney by now would have locked it down so that anything that you make you can hold ad
No,
infinitum.
Warner
but,
Brothers owns Hanna-Barbera, so it's not an issue of licensing.
Okay.
But my question is why go back to the Flintstones? Give me the freaking Jetsons already. We've had 2 Flintstone movies.
I would love to see a gritty live-action reboot of the Jetsons. We're like, our planet is covered in smog, which is why we have to live up here in the towers. We destroyed the entire Earth, and now we've enslaved our robot Roby to clean our house.
Now-
you could see it, and then be all like punk rocked out there, like a storm punk thing going on.
Here's what I see even funnier. Rosie the Robot would be redesigned the way they did Robbie the Robot in the Lost in Space movie. She'd be all epic and awesome. And it's just like, wow, because I like the Lost in Space movie. But, yeah, I want my Jetsons movie. Why can't we get
You know
that?
what? Why don't you just give us some money? We will find more attractive people than the two of us, but we'll write the script for your gritty Jetsons reboot.
Judy would be like, the wheels. Okay,
All right,
last
moving
big Geek
along.
Week news, more movie news. DC is reportedly pushing out 9 more superhero films. That's on top of the Justice League and the ones they've already announced.
I'm sorry.
Is this
It's
too
late.
much?
It's too late, is what it is. Marvel has done such a good job with their cinematic universe. I mean, they've got, when you're watching the Marvel stuff, you can tell that they've put some work into the continuity. You can tell that they actually have things linked together. The TV and the movies actually intersect as well. And DC had their day. They had their day in the form of animation. They did a really good job with the DC animated
Their animated
universe.
movies are fantastic, and now they started the animated universe.
Threw that out the window. When
They
it
didn't
came
throw it
to-
out the window because Justice League War was the start of the relaunch where they're creating the animated cinematic verse, and it's working because I've seen War and I've seen Son of Batman, and it's working.
You watch more animation, though. I will take your. I will take
Yeah,
your
you
word
don't
on that.
like cartoons because you think demon TVs are going to eat you or something. There's something wrong with you.
Whatever. Anyway, if your soul had been eaten by a demon TV, it'd be different.
I'd
But
be
the point is, DC has not shown any ability to actually make their movies become one cinematic universe. They haven't shown any ability to respect the comic book characters. The number one problem I keep having with them is they don't want to make comic book movies. They want to make.
I disagree.
They do not want to make.
I
Comic book
disagree.
movies.
Man of
All of
Steel
their
was very
mov-
much a comic book movie. There's no way you're going to tell me that was
Jeepus
not a
is here
comic
to
book
save
movie.
us. Anyway, but their Batman movies were like a public apology for having created Batman.
I didn't see it that way. I thought they took it too far into the real world because yes, Batman does exist in superhero universe. And
Yeah.
I was really hoping when they brought Bane in, they were going to kind of introduce that. But I don't like the fact that they threw out the whole Dark Knight trilogy to start over with Superman. I mean, just incorporate it. Just let the ball roll. You've already got these great trilogy coming out.
See, and this is one of the problems that I think is going to eventually undermine the entire genre of superhero movies. They're so obsessed with rebooting origin stories. I mean, Superman's done it how many times now? 3. Spider-Man's done it 2. Batman, I think, is also up to 3. And yes, origin stories are cool, but there's so much more you can tell than an origin story. If they just keep throwing 9 movies out there, like, by the way, you like the last 3? Time to reboot them all with another origin story, kids. We're going to get bored of it.
Yeah, I think with the onslaught of Star Wars and the already established Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're really pushing it.
There's only so much. I mean, I understand that this is what's pushing the special effects budgets and whatnot, but there's that field has been plowed, guys.
But I mean, what other heroes do we want to see? Do they honestly have? I mean, they're already doing Justice League.
Oh gosh, I've heard this one
Aquaman.
from an island.
They're already doing Wonder Woman movies.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No,
yes, they are doing a trilogy of Wonder Woman movies.
I will believe it when I actually see a poster coming from DC.
So,
By the way, I hear that there's some other women in the DC universe as well. Like
which you won't like because they're all scantily clad. They wear fishnet stockings and they wear like no clothes. So what are you gonna do?
That is actually not my problem with it. Honestly, I think even though Harley Quinn is pasted on, she's completely covered and whatnot, and she's an adorable, crazy character that came from the animation over into the rest of it. I would love to see Harley Quinn in its movies.
Well, we'll see what they have lined up. I
as
hope
long
it's
as they don't
fun.
juggalo her up the way they did.
Juggalo her up with
they're
gonna have ICP up in there. Come on.
Anyway.
So I hope they do Aquaman. I mean, that's just a shoe.
You just want to see him with like that big harpoon hand and the
no,
big
not
crazy
harpoon
beard.
hand. He just needs to be awesome Aquaman again. You know?
You don't think Harpoon Hand was awesome Aquaman?
Oh, no, he was just crazy back then. There was a fish hook on his hand. You can't play Captain Hook. You're Aquaman. Be freaking Aquaman.
Yeah.
So that's been our Geek Week news for this week.